A cold wind moved through the broken trees, carrying with it the smell of ash and metal. The forest had once been full of life, but now it stood quiet, as if nature itself held its breath. Fallen branches cracked under Kayla's boots as she crouched low, hiding behind a moss-covered log. Her eyes scanned the trees. She clutched a sharpened metal rod in one hand, a makeshift spear from a broken fence pole. Her other hand trembled slightly, though her face remained still. She wasn't afraid of the dark. She wasn't afraid of being alone, but she was afraid of the strange sounds that came after the sky tore open months ago. A faint hum, deep and unnatural, buzzed in the air. Birds no longer flew here, even the insects had vanished. Only one kind of creature dared roam now: aliens. They weren't like the ones in old stories. These were tall, armored beings with glowing masks and weapons. That melted stone. People called them Overlords, but no one really knew where they came from. Kayla had only seen them once from far away, when they took her parents. Since then, she'd lived by herself, moving from shelter to shelter, hiding during the day, scavenging at night. But something was different today. She had followed strange tracks, deep claw marks and burned grass. Something else had landed, not the usual ships. This one crashed. The trees around the crash site had burned to ash. Smoke rose between them like ghosts. Suddenly the ground shook. A loud metal groan echoed through the valley. Kayla ducked as a massive shape moved in the distance. It wasn't a ship, it was a transport. One of theirs. She held her breath and stayed low, her heart thudding like a drum. From the wreck, armored aliens spilled out. Their movements were sharp, their weapons humming. They were searching for something, or someone. Kayla turned to run, but froze. A low growl stopped her. Just 10 feet away stood a massive beast. Its body was thick with dark fur, but metallic plates ran down its back like armor. Wires glowed under its ribs. Yellow eyes met hers, sharp and focused. A Wolverine. It wasn't normal. It was huge, almost the size of a horse, and parts of it looked like they came from a machine. A blinking collar rested around its neck, red lights flashing slowly. Kayla gripped her spear tighter, unsure whether to attack or flee. But the Wolverine didn't move. It sniffed the air and sat back on its haunches, never breaking eye contact. Kayla noticed a scar across its face, and one of its ears had been torn clean off. Yet it didn't seem angry. It didn't seem afraid. She took a slow step back. The creature tilted its head. Then, without warning, it turned and started walking away, toward the trees again. After a few steps, it paused and looked back at her. Kayla stood still. It waited. Another hum shook the earth. This time closer. The aliens were spreading out, scanning the forest with blinking blue beams. One of them shouted in a strange, sharp language. Kayla didn't wait. She made her choice. She followed the beast. They moved silently through the forest, the Wolverine always, a few steps ahead, leading her around broken trees and old debris. It moved like it knew the land, like it had done this before. Kayla kept low and moved quickly. She didn't understand why it wasn't attacking her. Maybe it was trained. Maybe it was once part of the old human military before the war went quiet. She didn't know. But for now, it was her only chance. After what felt like an hour, they reached a small hill covered in thick vines and burnt leaves. The Wolverine pushed against a pile of rocks, revealing a hidden tunnel. Without hesitation, it crawled inside. Kayla hesitated. Behind her, a flash of blue light lit the sky. Alien voices echoed again. Closer now. She followed the beast into the dark. Inside, the tunnel was cold and damp. The air smelled like rust and oil. Faint lights lined the wall. old emergency lights flickering with weak power. Kayla slid down a short slope and found herself inside a narrow hallway made of metal. This wasn't natural. It was human-made. The Wolverine waited beside a sealed door. A panel next to it blinked weakly. Kayla reached out. Her fingers brushed the panel. It flickered. Then came a static-filled voice. Echo Unit 3. Identity confirmed. Welcome, Kayla Monroe. She stepped back, shocked. Her full name? How did it know? The door creaked open. Inside was a small bunker. Dust floated through the air. Metal crates lined the walls. A broken monitor blinked on. A low whir came from the back, where a projection flickered to life. A man's face appeared. Rough, tired, eyes kind, her father. If you're seeing this, then I didn't make it, the hologram said. But you're not alone. Rex is with you now, and there's a fight ahead. Kayla turned to the Wolverine. It blinked slowly. Now she knew its name, and that she was no longer just running. She had a purpose. She had a weapon. And the war had just begun. The old bunker was quiet, filled with the soft hum of machines running on backup power. Dust danced in the pale glow from flickering lights. Kayla stood still, staring at the fading hologram of her father. His voice echoed in her ears, gentle but firm. Rex is more than an animal. He was built to protect you. Trust him. The hologram faded into sparks. Kayla's hands dropped to her sides. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. This was the first time in weeks that something, anything, felt like home. She turned toward Rex. He lay near the door, his heavy body stretched across the floor. His sharp eyes stayed on her, watching every move. His breathing was steady, almost quiet. He didn't growl. He didn't move to attack. There was a strange calm between them, as if they had already known each other for years. Kayla walked slowly across the room. She passed metal crates marked with the old Earth defense symbol. Inside one, she found ration packs, water canisters, and old medkits. She opened another and pulled out a thick blanket, then walked over to Rex. He didn't flinch as she placed it over his back. "You're hurt," she whispered. A patch on his side showed torn wires and burned fur. She pulled out a medkit, opened it, and began cleaning the wound. Rex growled low, but didn't stop her. When she was done, he shifted slightly and rested his head on his paws. Kayla sat beside him, knees pulled close to her chest. Her fingers traced the lines in the cold metal floor. Morning came slowly. The lights inside the bunker flickered brighter with the rising sun. Kayla woke up to the soft sound of claws tapping on metal. Rex stood near the door, alert. She grabbed her spear and followed. Outside, the air was cool and damp. Fog clung to the ground. The forest was still, but Kayla knew the peace wouldn't last. They needed supplies, more food, stronger weapons, and answers. She glanced at Rex. "Let's go." They moved carefully through the trees. Rex stayed close, ears high, sniffing the air. Kayla used her father's maps stored on a small data chip she found in the bunker. It showed an old watchtower nearby, once used to track alien movements. The path to the tower was overgrown, filled with thorns and fallen logs. Kayla's boots sank in soft mud. Twice she slipped, and Rex stopped to wait each time. She noticed he was limping slightly. His injured side still troubled him, but he didn't slow down. When they reached the base of the tower, Kayla paused. The metal stairs had rusted, and part of the wall had collapsed. But the tower still stood. She climbed first, testing each step before putting her weight on it. Rex followed carefully, claws scraping against the metal. At the top, they found a control room. The glass windows were cracked, but some equipment still worked. A small screen blinked weakly, showing a rough map of the area. Kayla tapped buttons, searching for anything useful. A message flashed across the screen. Alert. Overlord activity detected. Sector 5 that was near the old river bridge. Close. Too close. Kayla scanned the forest with a broken scope she found. On the floor. In the distance, she saw movement. Shadows that didn't belong to animals. Alien patrols. She backed away from the window. We need to leave, she said. Rex growled in agreement. On the way back, they stayed off the main trails. Kayla laid simple traps behind them. Tripwires, sharp spikes hidden under leaves, even a few smoke bombs built from materials in the tower. She had learned from watching, from surviving. The aliens expected a fight, but not tricks, not traps, not human cleverness. Rex stopped near a small clearing and sniffed the ground. His ears twitched. Kayla crouched beside him and saw it too. A crushed flower, still fresh. Someone had passed by recently. They weren't alone. Suddenly, a shriek broke the silence. A flash of blue light shot through the trees. Kayla grabbed Rex's fur and ran. Behind them, branches cracked, and bark exploded as plasma beams struck the trees. Rex led the way, dodging through tight spaces. Kayla followed, heart pounding. They jumped a stream, crossed a fallen log, and ducked into a cave hidden behind a rock wall. Inside, darkness swallowed them. Kayla pressed her hand against Rex's warm side, both of them breathing hard. The footsteps passed above them. After a long silence, Kayla lit a small glow stick. The light revealed a tunnel leading deeper, underground. Rex moved first. She followed. At the end of the tunnel, they found another chamber. This one wasn't part of the bunker. It was older. Human symbols covered the walls. Drawings of resistance groups. Messages carved into stone. We fight until the sky clears. Kayla placed her hand on the wall. Others had been here. Others had fought. Maybe even survived. She looked at Rex. He stood tall now, ears high, eyes focused. Something had changed. They weren't just running anymore. They were preparing, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. The cave was cold and silent. Only the sound of dripping water echoed through the stone tunnel. Kayla knelt near the entrance, adjusting the last wire on a small trap she had built from broken parts scavenged from the old watchtower. It was crude, but it would work. Rex stood behind her, watching the forest outside with sharp eyes. She had learned fast. The aliens were stronger, but not smarter. They moved in patterns, followed rules. Kayla had no rules now, only survival. Rex's ears twitched. He gave a soft growl. Kayla froze. The trap was ready. She backed away and took cover behind a large rock, holding a short-range plasma knife she found in the bunker. Its charge was low, but one strike could still cut through armor. Through the trees, the enemy came into view. 3 aliens marched, in a wide formation, scanning the forest floor. Their tall, armored bodies reflected the weak sunlight. Their weapons buzzed softly, glowing blue. One of them paused near a broken branch. He raised his arm, signaling the others. Kayla waited. Rex lowered his body, muscles tense. The first alien stepped into the clearing and triggered the wire. A sharp snap rang out as a net of spikes sprang from the ground, wrapping around his legs. He crashed to the earth, roaring in pain. Before the others could react, Rex charged. His body was a blur of fur and metal. He slammed into the second alien with crushing force, claws tearing through armor like paper. Sparks flew. The alien screamed. his weapon falling uselessly to the ground. Kayla darted forward. The third alien swung around, trying to aim, but she was faster. She slid low, slashing the plasma knife across the back of his knee joint. The armor hissed as it melted. The alien collapsed with a heavy grunt. She pressed the blade to his throat, but he didn't fight. Instead, his hand moved slowly to a device. On his chest, a blinking disc. Kayla's eyes widened. A beacon. Before she could stop him, he pressed it. A sharp tone echoed through the forest. Kayla pulled back, cursing under her breath. The signal had been sent. Rex growled beside her, covered in ash and blood. One alien was dead, another unconscious. The third groaned under the weight of the net, still struggling. Kayla turned to Rex. They know we're here now. Back in the alien command ship orbiting the planet's surface, the warlord's face twisted in anger. His skin was pale silver, his eyes glowing red behind a visor. A hologram showed the beacon's signal pulsing from Sector 5. "Send the hunters," he ordered. "Bring me the wild girl and the beast, dead or broken." That night the forest felt different. Every sound seemed louder. Every shadow looked darker. Kayla and Rex moved quickly, returning to the cave to gather supplies. They didn't speak, but there was understanding between them now. A quiet rhythm had formed. Kayla packed dried food, a backup knife, and 2 smoke bombs made from old chemicals. Rex checked the wind, sniffing the air with short, sharp breaths. He didn't relax, not once. They left before sunrise. As they moved through the woods, Kayla noticed something strange. The aliens had not returned to the ambush site. No patrols, no tracking units. It was too quiet. She didn't like it. Near an old riverbed, she stopped. A half-buried metal object caught her eye. She dug around it and pulled out a helmet. One of Earth's. The visor was cracked, and blood stained the side. Inside was a small chip, still glowing. She connected it to her wrist device. A file opened. Log. Echo Unit 7. Ambushed. They knew our movements. Someone told them. Trust. No one. Kayla's grip tightened. Someone had betrayed Earth's last fighters. She looked up at Rex. We're not just fighting aliens. Someone helped them. Rex growled low, and she could tell. He had always known there were deeper secrets. They returned to the forest edge near the alien patrol zone. This time, Kayla wasn't planning to run. She wanted answers, and she wanted them afraid. She painted the old trees with symbols, human war signs. She rigged a false body using old armor parts, placing it in clear sight. When the next patrol came, they would find it hanging in a net, head lowered, limbs loose. A warning. She etched a message into the bark nearby with a laser cutter. You started this. We end it. The next alien patrol arrived late in the evening. 6 soldiers. Heavy. Weapons. Tight formation. They found the fake body first. Then saw the message. One of them reached for his communicator. It exploded in his hand. Kayla had hidden a bomb inside the false corpse. Panic broke through their calm. They shouted in their language. Scanning the trees, Rex and Kayla struck fast. From opposite sides they moved like shadows. Rex leapt onto one alien, slamming him into the ground. Kayla dropped from a tree, landing behind another, slashing through the back of his armor. The aliens fought hard, but they were shaken. 2 ran. Kayla let them go. Let them carry the fear back to the warlord. That night, Kayla and Rex watched from a high cliff. Fires burned in the alien base below. Drones circled. Guards paced. The girl placed a hand on Rex's back. We're not hiding anymore. And Rex, for the first time, gave a soft, low sound. Not a growl, almost like a purr. The fire flickered. In the distance, its smoke curling into the sky like a signal flare. Kayla sat beside a fallen tree, cleaning a cracked lens with part of her shirt. Rex rested nearby, one paw curled under his head. His ears twitched with every small sound, but his eyes stayed half closed, for now there was peace. But they both knew it wouldn't last. Since the last raid, something had changed. The aliens were no longer marching with confidence. Their movements were tighter, their patrols more cautious. The message Kayla had carved into the tree, "You started this. We end it," had reached them, and it had shaken them. Kayla noticed more drones flying overhead now. They circled wider, scanning faster, and never stayed in one place too long. The aliens were afraid. They didn't understand what they were facing. A girl with no formal training, and a beast built for war. Together, they had become something unexpected, something wild. She smiled faintly at the thought. Later that day, she and Rex moved toward an abandoned fuel station near the cliffs. The building was half collapsed, metal beams twisted and blackened by fire. Inside, Kayla found broken canisters and crushed boxes. But she wasn't searching for food. She wanted something else, something loud. She found a container of pressurized gas, barely intact, buried under rubble. Its gauge blinked weakly, still holding a little charge. Kayla's eyes lit up. "Perfect," she whispered. With Rex watching the door, she got to work. Using scrap metal, wiring from her broken wrist pad, and pieces of shattered tools, she began building. She had seen her father make something similar years ago, back when he taught her how to use junk for survival. That memory gave her confidence. 2 hours later, the trap was ready. That night, they set it near a narrow canyon pass where alien patrols often traveled. Kayla planted decoy footprints, crushed leaves, and even left behind torn fabric. Everything looked rushed, like someone had just escaped. Then, she placed the gas trap inside a broken crate and climbed into a tree. Rex crouched behind thick rocks nearby. The aliens arrived just before midnight. 5 of them, armed and armored, spread out in the clearing. One of them noticed the crate and moved toward it, scanning for signals. Another scanned the area with a blue beam. Kayla held her breath. Rex didn't move. The moment the alien touched the box, Kayla triggered the trap from her device. A sharp hiss filled the air. Then a fireball exploded upward, lighting the sky in a burst of orange and white. 2 aliens were thrown backward. The rest screamed, their visors cracking from the shockwave. In the chaos, Kayla dropped from the tree. She struck one alien in the chest with a blunt spearhead, knocking him into a rock. Rex burst from cover, slamming into another soldier, tearing through his armor with one powerful strike. The last alien tried to run, but tripped over roots and fell. Kayla approached, her face calm. "Tell them," she said coldly. "Tell your leader we're not afraid." She let him crawl away. The next morning, they traveled east. Kayla used a cracked satellite dish on a ruined tower to tap into old Earth. All messages. Most channels were dead, but one signal came through, faint but steady. A resistance message, looping over and over. "To all survivors, keep fighting. Earth still breathes. You are not alone." Kayla closed her eyes. The words sank into her heart. She turned to Rex, who stood near the edge of the tower, staring at the trees below. She touched his shoulder gently. "We're not just surviving anymore." Across the sky, alien transport ships began flying lower, faster, with more aggression. Kayla and Rex noticed new patterns, stronger patrols, fewer mistakes. But fear still lingered in the way they moved. The aliens weren't sure what they were up against. At a broken bridge near the river, Kayla set another trap. This one used stolen tech, alien sensors, rigged to overload. She paired them with old batteries and filled nearby crates with rocks to mimic supplies. When the next group approached, the sensors flashed and exploded. The sound echoed through the valley like thunder. Another warning. That night, in a hidden shelter under the hills, Kayla sat beside Rex and studied a map. She circled key alien points, guard towers, fuel depots, signal repeaters. Each red mark was a future target. She looked at the growing list and whispered, "They'll learn what it means to fear humans again." Rex gave a soft grunt of agreement. Far above, in the cold halls of the alien warship, the warlords slammed a fist onto the metal table. Reports poured in. Failed patrols, traps, missing soldiers. Surveillance showed only glimpses, blurry images, of a girl and a beast moving like ghosts through the forest. He snarled. "This is not a child," he said to his commanders. "This is a shadow. A weapon." He turned to his second-in-command. "Burn the forest. All of it." Back in the shelter, Kayla watched the night sky through a cracked ceiling panel. Stars flickered above, quiet and distant. She thought of her father, her mother, and the world that used to be. Rex lay beside her, tail curled around his side. Tomorrow would be harder. The aliens would strike back. But she had no plans to run. She pulled her blanket tighter and whispered into the darkness. "Let them come." Ash drifted from the sky like gray snow. The forest was no longer silent. It roared with fire. Trees cracked, birds fled, and thick smoke rolled through the hills. The sky glowed orange, painted with flames and fury. Kayla ran, her lungs burning, with every breath. Branches slapped her arms as she ducked low and sprinted through the underbrush. Behind her, Rex raced with powerful strides, his body streaked with dirt and soot. His injured leg slowed him, but he never stopped. The aliens had made their move. Just before dawn, they launched firebombs across the northern woods. Explosions echoed like thunder. Kayla had barely escaped their first strike. Now, the world around her was falling apart. They found shelter in a narrow cave at the base of a rocky hill. Kayla collapsed inside, coughing hard, wiping sweat and ash from her face. Her eyes watered, but she forced herself to look at Rex. He limped into the shadows, sides heaving. One of his back legs was bleeding again. The smoke had worsened his wound. Kayla crawled to her bag, grabbed the medkit and tore open a patch. "Hold still," she whispered, pressing the cloth to his leg. Rex flinched but didn't pull away. Outside, the fire still raged. The heat pressed against the rocks like a heavy hand. For hours they waited in silence. The fire passed, leaving blackened earth in its wake. The forest was now a graveyard of burnt trees and scorched grass. When it was safe to leave, Kayla stepped outside. The air was thick with smoke. The sky above was a dull gray, hiding the sun. She turned in a slow circle. The landscape had changed. It no longer looked like home, but her spirit didn't break. Later, they traveled south, away from the ashes. Kayla led the way with one hand on her map and the other holding her spear. Rex followed, quieter than usual. He limped more with every step. His strength was fading. They reached a dry riverbed by nightfall. The rocks there were smooth and cold. Kayla built a small fire using dry bark she had kept in her pack. The warmth helped ease the chill, but it didn't lift the weight in her heart. Rex lay beside her, eyes half closed. His breathing was slow. Kayla placed her hand gently on his back. "You saved me again," she said softly. "But I don't know how much longer we can keep doing this." The stars blinked above like faint signals from far-off worlds. Somewhere out there, others might still be fighting. But down here, it was just a girl, a beast, and the burned ground beneath them. The next morning, Kayla searched the hills for shelter. High above the valley, she spotted a tall shape, an old communications tower. It leaned slightly to one side but still stood strong. She decided to climb. Inside, she found rusted equipment and broken screens. Most systems were dead, but one corner had power. A dusty console blinked slowly. Kayla brushed the dirt away and tapped the panel. To her surprise, a weak signal pulsed to life. She typed in a short message. Human survivor. Coordinates attached. Enemy burning forest. Need help. She pressed send, then waited. Back at the camp, Rex slept, his side rising and falling unevenly. Kayla sat close, sharpening her spear with a stone. The fire crackled beside them. Suddenly, her wrist pad beeped. She looked down. A reply had arrived. Message. Received. Earth Echo Command. Reinforcements delayed. Stay alive. Kayla read the words twice, hardly believing it. Someone had heard her. She leaned over and touched Rex's paw. We're not alone. With new hope, Kayla began gathering gear. She reinforced her traps, repaired her broken knife, and upgraded her wrist pad with parts from the tower. She used an old antenna wire to create a long-range scanner. It could detect alien drones before they got close. Rex stayed close, resting but alert. He drank more water now and accepted small bites of food. Kayla cleaned his wounds again and wrapped them carefully. They were not out of danger, but they were ready. The next day, a drone flew low above the trees. Kayla spotted it from the cliff edge. It scanned the land slowly, moving toward the riverbed. She knew what it meant. More soldiers were coming. She had to act first. That night, under a silver moon, Kayla planted a final trap. Using the last of the gas, the remains of an alien sensor, and a broken engine coil, she built a timed explosive. She placed it near a path often used by patrols. Then she climbed the nearby hill and waited. Hours passed. Then movement. 3 aliens entered the path, unaware of what lay beneath the leaves. The moment their boots triggered the pressure plate, the ground shook. A wall of fire rose into the air. Kayla didn't cheer. She just watched. Another battle won. But the war wasn't over. At dawn, Kayla and Rex stood on the ridge, looking down at the valley. Smoke curled gently from distant trees. The forest was not the same, but neither was she. The girl who once ran had become a fighter, and her beast, though wounded, still stood tall beside her. Together, they would face what came next, not with fear, but with fire in their hearts. The sun was barely rising when Kayla reached the old tower. Its sharp edges stretched into the smoky sky like broken fingers. Once a stronghold for early resistance, it now stood half destroyed, walls cracked and windows shattered. Vines crawled along the stone, and fallen beams lay buried beneath ash and dirt. Kayla moved quickly, her steps silent. She knew time was running out. The enemy had traced her signal. The response she received from Echo Command had been brief, but enough to give her hope. Reinforcements were coming, but not fast enough. She had to hold the line. Behind her, Rex limped through the doorway. His fur was still matted with dust, and his injured leg trembled with each step. But he didn't stop. He never stopped. Kayla guided him to the highest platform inside the tower. From there, she could see the valley stretching far and wide. Black smoke drifted above distant trees. A fleet of alien transports floated just beyond the hills. "They're coming," she whispered. Inside the tower, she worked fast. She had salvaged explosives from the drone remains. She placed them at key points, under the stairwell, near the windows, and behind the last standing pillar. Each device had a timer. Some would detonate with movement, others with heat. Rex helped carry materials. His large jaw clamped onto wires and gear, bringing them to her like a silent soldier. Once everything was in place, Kayla climbed to the top floor. She recorded a message on the old transmitter found inside the tower's core. Her voice was steady. "This is Kayla Monroe. If this is the end, let it be known we didn't give up. We fought. And if you're listening, remember this. Humans. Never bow." She pressed send. The signal burst into space, riding a weak pulse of energy. Then she turned off the light. The sky turned dark by noon. The alien fleet dropped lower, shadows stretching across the ground like giant wings. Their scanners swept the tower with blue light, searching for life. Kayla and Rex hid beneath the rubble, just beneath the platform. She held her weapon close. Her heart beat faster, but her hands didn't shake. When the first drop pod landed, it shook the tower. 6 armored soldiers stepped out. They moved like machines, silent, fast, without hesitation. They entered through the broken doorway, guns raised, eyes glowing behind metal masks. Kayla watched them from above. She waited until they reached the second floor. Then she pressed the first trigger. A loud boom shook the building. The stairs collapsed, taking 2 soldiers down in a flash of fire. One hit the floor hard, unmoving. The other screamed, trapped under stone. The rest turned their weapons upward. Rex leapt from the shadows. His body flew across the space like a bolt of fury. He slammed into one alien, sending him crashing into the wall. Sparks flew as claws met armor. Blood splattered across broken tiles. Kayla jumped into the chaos. She rolled to the side, slicing through a soldier's weapon with her plasma blade. The alien swung back, but she ducked and kicked his leg. He stumbled. She stabbed upward, clean through the gap in his armor. 3 remained, one aimed at her. Kayla dove behind a crate. A beam of blue fire struck where she had just stood. The heat burned the air. Rex tackled the shooter, knocking the gun free. The alien punched him hard once, twice. Rex growled, bit down, and didn't let go. Kayla threw a smoke bomb. The air filled with thick white clouds. Confusion spread. The soldiers lost sight of her. She moved through the mist like a shadow. One soldier fired wildly. The shot missed. Kayla came from the side and slammed her blade into his chest. He dropped, instantly. The last alien backed away. Kayla approached slowly. "We warned you," she said. He raised his hand to surrender. Too late. The battle had lasted minutes, but it had taken everything. Rex collapsed beside her, bleeding again. Kayla fell to her knees, exhausted, smoke rising all around. The tower shook from the fight, bricks falling from the ceiling. She grabbed her bag, pulled out the last explosive, and placed it near the support beam. She helped Rex to his feet. "We can't stay here." Together, they limped out the back, disappearing into the trees. A moment later, the tower exploded. Fire swallowed the structure. A pillar of smoke climbed into the sky. The aliens had lost the tower, and they didn't even know how many humans were still watching. Miles away, high in Earth's orbit, a signal reached the Echo fleet. A commander read the message. His eyes narrowed. He turned to his team. "Prepare. The dropships. We've found her." On the forest ridge, Kayla watched the fire rise behind her. She could barely stand. Rex leaned into her, helping her stay upright. For now, they were alive. The world was still broken. But the fight had changed. They were no longer hunted. They were rising together. The forest was quiet again. Smoke from the ruined tower drifted through the trees, rising slowly into the sky. Kayla sat beside Rex on a grassy ridge, her arms wrapped around her knees. The flames had died down, but her heart still beat fast. Rex rested his head on her leg. His body was weak, covered in scrapes and burns, but his eyes stayed open, watching the sky. They had survived. But Kayla knew the aliens weren't finished. A low rumble echoed in the distance. She turned her head and scanned the horizon. The sound grew louder. Rex lifted his ears. Then, through the clouds, light broke, bright and powerful. A line of metal shapes pierced the sky, flying fast and low. Ships. Not alien. Human. Above the Earth, the Echo fleet moved into formation. Old warships, patched and weathered, held strong against the stars. These were not perfect machines. They were worn by time, battle, and loss. But inside them, brave men and women stood ready. They had heard Kayla's signal. On the bridge of the lead ship, Commander Hale stared at the screen. A red dot marked Kayla's last known position. She held the line, he said. Prepare the drop pods. Back on the ground, Kayla watched. As the first ship descended, the sky flashed with blue streaks as support drones cleared the air. Alien transports rose from the valley, reacting to the sudden threat. The aliens were too late. The human fleet fired first. From the hills, beams of light sliced through the clouds. Explosions lit up the enemy base. The ground shook under Kayla's feet. Rex growled softly, eyes locked on the action. Drop pods shot toward the Earth like shooting stars. One landed nearby, flattening the bushes around it. The hatch burst open. 3 soldiers in gray armor stepped out. One of them raised his visor. Kayla Monroe? She nodded. Echo team. We got your call. Medical officers rushed in behind them. They lifted Rex onto a stretcher, placing a gentle hand on his side. Kayla stood back, unsure for the first time in days. She had fought for so long alone. Now she was surrounded by people, real, living humans. A woman in uniform approached. Her voice was calm but firm. You've done more than survive, she said. You gave us a reason to come back. Kayla blinked, unsure what to say. The woman placed a hand on her shoulder. We're rebuilding, and we need fighters like you. Kayla nodded slowly. By nightfall, the valley was secured. Alien forces had pulled back, retreating to the outer regions. Fires were put out, the wounded were treated, and a small command post was set up near the remains of the tower. Kayla sat beside Rex, now resting in a medical pod. Machines buzzed gently around him, cleaning wounds and scanning his vitals. His breathing had steadied. He would recover. One of the soldiers handed her a data tablet. It's a copy of your transmission, he said. They want to keep it as a reminder. Kayla played the recording. If this is the end, let it be known we didn't give up. She smiled faintly. It felt like a different version of herself was speaking. A girl on the edge. A girl who refused to break. Now, that message had reached across space. Over the next few days, Kayla helped the Echo team navigate the area. She showed them hidden paths, abandoned bunkers, and places where others might still be hiding. She became part of the team, not just a survivor. She asked about her father's unit. Some had made it to orbit. Others were still missing. But now, with Echo Command on the ground, there was hope to find them. Rex, though still weak, followed her again. His spirit remained strong, his eyes sharp. The soldiers gave him space. They had heard the stories. The beast who fought like a soldier. The protector of a girl who wouldn't fall. A week later, the Echo commander called a meeting. Kayla stood with the officers around a digital map. New points lit up. Alien strongholds, resource sites, and possible human shelters. Commander Hale looked at her. We're launching a counterstrike. You've seen what they can do. You know this land better than anyone. He paused. We want you with us. Kayla looked at the map, then at Rex. He gave a soft growl, as if he already agreed. She turned back to the commander. I'm in. That evening, she walked alone to the ridge where it all began. The wind blew gently through the trees. Though many were burned, green shoots were growing again. Life was returning. She sat on a rock and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, others were still fighting. Others were still waiting to hear that Earth had not fallen. She whispered into the breeze. We're not finished. We're just getting started. Behind her, Rex padded forward and sat beside her. Together, they faced the sky. And above them, the stars watched in silence. Humanity had answered, and it would never be ignored again.